welcome back to A Dorm Divided on 88.9 KSTM The Storm. It's finally here. March Madness starts tomorrow. I don't like the way that they're doing it
No.
with no...
Usually we get our first two games yesterday and then our two today, and then it's all starting tomorrow. But, they switched up the schedule for some unknown reason.
It's a shame because Professor Clint Huntrod's canceled class tomorrow.
I know.
So I would have had no class just to be able to watch March Madness all day.
I have one class. I didn't have any classes today. Got one class tomorrow. I got to take a test in, and then none on Friday. So I'll be watching it all day. But we got practice, unfortunately, so we'll miss a few games.
Yeah, it's a shame that it doesn't start tomorrow, but we will be able to watch it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and we're going to be here previewing all of it. Going to do the best we can to predict every game and to briefly preview every game, but there's only so many teams that we can follow.
Exactly.
So there was no surprises. I think we predicted every single one seed last week. Gonzaga is the one seed in the West. Michigan is the one seed in the East. Not that the directions of the regions actually matter this year because they're all being played in a central Indianapolis location. Baylor's the one seed in the South region, and Illinois wraps it up with being number one in the Midwest. Notable teams, Iowa is a 2 seed for Aaron, and Drake made the play-in game as the last team in the tournament. They'll be playing former Missouri Valley Conference opponent and foe Wichita State in the play-in game, and the winner of that plays USC, which we will get into USC. I'm excited to talk about them. But we're going to start out with the West region, which is Gonzaga and Iowa as the top 2 seeds. It's also got Kansas, and I think the most upset-prone 4 and 5 seed Virginia and Creighton. I could see both of those going as upsets, but we will get into that. But first, I think we should talk about the top seed in the bracket, which is the Gonzaga Bulldogs. What are you feeling about Gonzaga going into the tournament?
I feel like they have for sure they have the easiest pass out of all the 1 seeds to the Elite Eight. I mean, I don't really see out of these 8 teams here, none of them should pose a threat to them. Oklahoma, Missouri, I mean, they should handle them. I don't know. I don't see Creighton or Virginia being able to hang with them, and if either of those teams get upset, I don't see those USSB or UCSB or Ohio being able to play with them either. So one of the easiest paths to the Elite Eight, I think, and then they'll hopefully get to play Iowa, and then we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, Gonzaga is one of I would argue, the best NCAA team since the 2015 Kentucky team where they went 38-0 or whatever and lost in the Final Four to Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you'll hear it that Gonzaga didn't play anyone, but they beat Iowa in the non-conference, Kansas, Auburn. They beat several other teams also. They had a game with Baylor that got canceled, and that was because of Baylor and their COVID issues. So Gonzaga is a proven team. This is not a team made of just seniors like we're used to. That they tend to have just a lot of 4 or 5 year guys that stick around. But this year they've got a top 3 recruit, probably top 5 draft pick in Jalen Suggs. Corey Kispert's one of the best shooters in the country. Drew Timme has some of the best footwork of any big man in the country. This team's legit. Mark Few is a good coach.
Mm-hmm.
And Gonzaga almost got over the hump in 2017. What year did they lose in the national title? It was either 17 or 18.
Yeah, I think it was 17.
Yeah, so Gonzaga's been there before. I think they've got a very clear path to the Elite Eight. Any other games in this region stick out to you? So we've got Oklahoma playing Missouri in the first round. I think Oklahoma should win that game, but that'll be one of the best first-round matchups.
Yeah, that'll be a good one of your. You usually see they're always good matchups, 8 and 9 seeds. I actually have Missouri winning that one. But, a game that it's going to be, when you look on like DraftKings or anything, it's going to be like an even. There's going to be no spread. Yeah. I mean, this is going to be even. You don't really know who's going to win that game. Should be a good game. There's not much research you can do on it. You just, you got to pick one or the other. So
both teams were in the top 10 at one point this season.
Both teams were really hot and then kind of cooled down there at the end. Oklahoma's in a little bit of a better conference, so I can see why people give them the edge. But, Missouri's got a talented team too. They struggled late in the year.
Yeah, Austin Reeves and Xavier Pinson should be a really good
Yeah.
matchup for the first round. Moving down the back bracket, there's Creighton against UC Santa Barbara. It's a very popular upset pick. I've got UC Santa Barbara. Creighton looked awful in the Big East tournament, just got blown out by Georgetown when they should have had a clear path to winning the Big East tournament with Villanova being eliminated early.
Mm-hmm.
But Creighton just looked awful. UCSB is one of those just 12 seeds that I don't know how to explain it, but it just seems like they're the favorite in the game.
Yeah, realistically, teams want to pick 12 seeds over 5 seeds all the time. It happens a lot. I kind of did it mathematically, where I wanted to pick every 12 seed I could. I wanted to pick all of them, but that just doesn't happen. So I picked Creighton in this one. I think their defense is still good. With all their coaching things going on, Greg McDermott is a good coach. He's a good guy. He means well, and I think he gets his team riled up and ready to play this game and make a good run maybe in this tournament. They got a lot of seniors on their team. Usually that plays to their advantage.
Moving down the bracket, another very trendy upset pick, Virginia and Ohio. I've got Ohio winning this game. Virginia had to exit out of the ACC tournament as the 1 seed due to COVID issues. Ohio's a team that's been there before. They've pulled off upsets in March. They've got a point guard, I don't know if you've heard of him, Jason Preston.
Mm-hmm.
He's been called the LaMelo Ball of college basketball. He's averaging 16 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, and is shooting over 50% from the floor. Those are the type of mid-major players in March that make noise.
Yep.
And I think that just with everything going on in Virginia, there's uncertainty if they'll even be able to play the game or not.
Yeah, they're not even in the quarantine right now.
Yeah.
They're not even supposed to, I think, arrive till either tomorrow or Friday, so they're not even doing anything right now.
Yep, so I really like Ohio in that game. That's one of the more confident upset picks I got.
Yeah, I agree with you. I also picked Ohio. It was something that when I was filling tournament, we didn't even know Virginia was even going to play.
Mm-hmm.
So the next replacement team would have been Louisville, and Ohio over Louisville. That's kind of what I based into it. So I didn't even know if Virginia was going to play, let alone having to come in on Friday, get 1 day, maybe 2 days to practice, and then having to play a game against a very talented mid-major team. So that's going to be a tough one for them, and I think Ohio comes out on top in that one.
So Wichita State and Drake will play tomorrow night. As much as I love the Bulldogs and Darian DeVries, I'm going to have to go with Wichita State just because Drake's down their 2 best players. They barely just limped into the tournament. I think Wichita State will handle them pretty easily, but I don't think they're getting over USC. I want USC to win just because I want to see Evan Mobley be able to take on as many opponents as he can. Just like Cade Cunningham, I think those are the 2 players I'm looking forward to seeing in March the most.
Yeah, so I would agree. I think I don't know. Wichita State Drake will be a good game, I think. No matter who comes out on top, obviously I'm going to root for Drake, but no matter who comes out on top, I still think USC will win. Like you said, Evan Mobley is a fun player to watch. People who live in the Midwest don't get to see him play out as much because, all his games on ESPN are at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night because he plays out in the West Coast to where we can't see him. So, he'll be playing at a more reasonable time for us to be able to watch. And, yeah, I think whoever USC gets comes out on top. But this is one of those games where USC, like all the other teams in the bracket, Ohio's preparing for Virginia, Virginia's preparing for Ohio. Like, USC can't prepare for Wichita or Drake because they don't know who they play.
Yeah, they've got to kind of do a half and half.
Yeah, they got to do both. So that makes it a little bit difficult. And then Wichita State and Drake have to, they can't prepare until Friday morning for USC. So it goes both ways. Sometimes you see upsets in there. Usually you see 11 seed teams who are playing in playing games, teams that barely make it who just started struggling at the end of the year. But these 2 teams are mid-major teams who have kind of played decent all year, had a few injuries. It should be a good game, but yeah, I agree. USC will win that one.
Evan Mobley is the first player in Pac-12 history to win Pac-12 Player of the Year, Freshman of the Year, and Defensive Player of the Year, and he's only the 2nd player to do it in college basketball history. Can you tell me who the other one is?
Kevin Durant.
Nope. Anthony Davis.
Oh.
But pretty close as far as NBA stardom goes. The next game, I don't think we really need to spend that much time on. Kansas, Eastern
Yep,
Washington.
Kansas will get that one.
I don't think Kansas is getting upset this year with who they've got coming back.
Yep.
Oregon VCU will be one of the most compelling matchups of the first round, in my opinion. VCU is one of the best defensive teams in the country, and they've got a guard named Nishan Bones Highland. He is the Atlantic 10 Player of the Year and led the league in scoring at over 19 points a game. This should be a really good game, especially just because Oregon is so versatile offensively, really good shooting team, and VCU so strong defensively. Those tend to be where the defense prevails, but it's also Atlantic 10 against Pac-12, so I'm not really sure who to go with here. Do you have any insight on this game?
No. Haven't watched Oregon all year. I know they started off hot and then they got upset in the tournament by Oregon State. I did watch VCU play St. Bonaventure in the championship. They kind of got blown out of the water there. It was about 10, not really blown out, but it was about a 10-point game, and they couldn't really get over the hump. But they did play well. I ultimately went with VCU. I think Oregon is just they're not playing well, and I don't see it. I see VCU coming in. They're usually a good tournament team. They always have been. And so yeah, I'm going with the trendy pick, and I'm going VCU.
So we can just do this more briefly, but we'll have, I guess, round of 32 will happen before the next time we record. So you picked Missouri, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even think we need to talk about it, but
Yeah.
I've got Gonzaga over Oklahoma. I'm sure you have Gonzaga over Missouri. I don't
Mhm.
think either of those teams will pose an upset threat
Yep.
to Gonzaga. And we both picked UCSB.
No, I got Creighton.
Oh, you got Creighton.
Yep.
So do you think Creighton beats Ohio
Yeah,
to go
I'm
to the Sweet
taking
16?
Creighton over Ohio. I think their run stops there.
I'm taking Ohio just because Ohio's been there before. I'm pretty sure they've made it to the Sweet 16 once or twice. I don't think Creighton wins. I think that's where it seems like there's always a 12-13 matchup in the round of 32, and I think that's the region it's coming from this year.
Mm-hmm.
And if that is the case, I've got Ohio. But if Creighton does find a way to sneak past Santa Barbara, I think they will beat Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
USC Kansas, I originally kind of marked this up as kind of a throwaway game. Kansas should win by a lot, but the more I think about it, the more of a matchup nightmare Evan Mobley is for Kansas. Just with how the Big 12 is, there's not really a lot of dominant big men. It's more of a guard-centered league. So Kansas has always struggled with elite big men, and Evan Mobley is, as we've already talked about, crazy athletic, one of the best defenders in college basketball, one of the best players in college basketball. That could be a good game. I've still got Kansas, but I think that's one of the games I'm highlighting as my most anticipated matchup of the second
I would agree.
day.
I think that's gonna be it's gonna be a good 3-6 matchup if we get to see it. But yeah, I'm gonna pick Kansas in that game too.
So you picked VCU. I picked Oregon. I've actually got Oregon pulling the upset over Iowa. If VCU wins, I think Iowa will steamroll VCU. But the types of teams that play well against Iowa are the ones that are really skilled offensively and really quick. They're able to get Iowa's guards in foul trouble, able to drive into the rim. And I think Oregon has one of the best coaches in college basketball, Dana Altman. I think that's one of the 7-2 games that'll be really good. But if VCU ends up beating Oregon, I don't think there's any way that they beat Iowa.
Yeah. Yeah, I have either way. No matter who they play, VCU or Oregon, I think Iowa will win. I don't know much about Oregon. I don't know if they have a big man who can guard Luka. Not many teams do, but I just think I know Iowa hasn't gone past the first weekend in a long time. They usually, or I don't know if they ever even well, they have before, but not under Fran. So
they haven't since like 91 or something like that.
Yeah, so I think this is the year that they do it. This could be the last year this is probably the last year they got Garza and Bohannon, maybe even Weiskamp. So I think this is the year that they at least get over that first hump and maybe make a longer one. But yeah, I have them beating VCU.
So then for that, we can take a little bit of a break. We'll come back to talk about the Eastern region. At the end of the show, we can just give brief Sweet 16 Elite 8 Final Four predictions, but we can also save that for next week when we know who wins. But we do want to make our picks before the brackets submit. But we're going to play a quick song, and then we'll be back to talk about the East region with Michigan as the 1 seed. Hello and welcome back to A Dorm Divided on 88.9 KSTM The Storm. We're back previewing March Madness, the best time of the year. It's the first year I've ever watched March Madness without being on spring break. It's awful.
Yeah, I hated watching when I went to Florida for the first time in like 8th grade. I hated watching March Madness because it's like I just want to be out on the beach, but I also want to watch March Madness. So I always like watching it at home and just sitting down and doing nothing but watching basketball. But when you're in Florida, you want to be outside and enjoying the sun and the beach and everything.
I would always go out and watch games on my beach, and then my phone would overheat. It was always really bad. So I'd have to like switch back and forth between like go and watch the last 10 minutes of game, go back to the beach, stuff like that. But it'll be nice to be able to watch all day Friday, most of the day. Actually, hopefully all day Saturday too. But Sunday I'm not going to be able to watch that much. Sunday's not going to be fun.
Yeah, you're busy Sunday or what?
Really busy Sunday, but we'll find our way around it. And we're going to preview right now the East region, which is Michigan as the 1 seed. And they've also got, who's their 2 seed? They've got Alabama as the 2 seed, which is a very trendy Final Four pick, and also Texas, Florida State, Colorado. The first game, Michigan against the 16 seed. They're not losing.
Yep.
Aaron, do you want to talk a little bit about Michigan? I know that you've watched them probably more than I have this year.
Yeah, they were one of the hottest teams in the country for a long time. Then you see them get beat by Michigan State, and then kind of their heat or their hotness kind of just falls off. They get cold. They get upset, or not really upset in the tournament, but Ohio State beats them. That game could have gone either way. And now here they are, still a 1 seed. They're out with one of their best players, Isaiah Livers. So that could cause concern, but they'll be all right. I think I have them making the Final Four with a few upset picks in there that are favorable matchups. But if they have to face LSU in the round of 32, that could be a dangerous game for them.
Yeah, to me every year I highlight 1, 8, 9 or a 1 versus an 8 or a 9 seed that has just like upset potential all over. Like UCF that 1 year against Duke, like going into the tournament, I knew like that game's gonna come down to the final minute. And Northern Iowa beating Kansas that 1 year in 2009, I think it is. There's always just that 1-8-9 game or 1-8-9 game that leads into the one game that I know is gonna come down to the wire. And if LSU is able to knock off the Bonnies of St. Bonaventure and play Michigan, I think it's gonna be a really good game. And I actually picked the upset just because LSU got stupid hot in the SEC tournament. They don't play defense. That's their problem. But when they get hot on offense, there's not a lot of teams in the country that can stop them. They completely blew Arkansas out of the water, who was a top 10 team, one of the hottest teams in the country. And when one of their star players, Darius Day, scores in double figures, LSU's 18-2. So when you're watching that game, look for Days in how he's playing because his output will most likely match the team's output. But nonetheless, I think if Baylor gets past Michigan, I think they're going to the Final Four.
LSU.
What did I just say? Baylor. If Michigan gets past LSU, I think they're going to the Final Four.
Yeah.
But I think their game against LSU will be the toughest.
Yeah.
In the round of 32.
Mm-hmm.
Another fun 5-12, 4-13 matchup. We've got Colorado and Georgetown. Georgetown upset Villanova, upset Creighton on their way to a Big East title game, snuck in the tournament as a 12 seed. They weren't even on like the bubble.
Nope.
So they're a bid stealer. I know you picked them over Colorado. Why'd you do that, Aaron?
Well, Patrick Ewing's their coach. They got a lot of senior guys on their team, and I'm just not a big Colorado guy. You've seen them in the tournament a couple times, but like you always see them exit in the first or second round. Like they never just make big runs. Georgetown, they got no pressure on them. They're just gonna come in. They're hot. They're playing well. Their coach is a fiery coach, Patrick Ewing, and I feel like this is just it's right up their alley. They got the best. I think they got the best or the worst 5 seed in this tournament. and yeah, they'll give Colorado. I think they'd even blow them out by like 15. I
Wow.
just think it's just not going to be a good game at all.
See, I think Colorado's one of the most consistent teams in the country. They are ranked top 25 on both offense and defense. So I think if one of them doesn't show up, the other will. And that's why I think a team like Colorado is a safe pick in a 5-12 game. Usually, what I look for in a 5-12 game is the 5 seed that is almost like LSU that we just talked about, where they're really streaky and hot, and they run into a team like Georgetown that's even hotter, and they just get blown out of the water. I think if Colorado loses, it's going to be close. And in a close game, look for this. Colorado is the best free throw shooting team in the country, hitting 83% on the season. So that always comes to play in March Madness.
Yep, that's true.
Every single game, no matter what. The 4-13 game is Florida State versus UNC Greensboro. This is going to be, this is, I think, my number one game I'm looking forward to. Just because Florida State is always so long and athletic and such a good defensive team. And UNC Greensboro is just a fun Cinderella story that I hope they beat Florida State. What's your prediction on this game?
So I got UNC Greensboro in this one. Florida State, I know, has a couple freshmen that they rely that they rely on to score some of their points. And they're just they're not like that great of freshmen. I know Scotty Barnes is a guy for Florida State who comes off the bench. He's projected to be a lottery pick, but he comes off the bench for a reason. He's a raw player, a raw prospect that NBA players like, but he doesn't fit this college game real well. So I just think this is one where UNC Greensboro, they haven't lost much, and that they come out and they beat Florida State, just because they're going to get hot, and Florida State might be a little nervous. They got a couple young guys they rely on, like I said, so that always puts you in dangerous water when you have to do that.
One matchup to keep an eye out for: Florida State turns the ball over at a very high rate, and UNC Greensboro presses. So that's one of those things where should play into the Spartans' favor.
Yep.
You'd think, and usually, I mean, teams that run into that's what's so awesome at March Madness is teams in the Big 12 can all play the same style, and then you get to March and you see something you haven't seen all year, and everyone just kind of looks like a deer caught in the headlights. So who knows? Maybe Florida State hasn't faced a team that's really good with pressure all year long, and they just look completely shell-shocked, and UNC runs them out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll have to see. With that, the 6-11 matchup, BYU's taking on the winner of Michigan State UCLA. I think BYU's a little overseeded. I've still got them winning just because I don't really like either Michigan State or UCLA. They seem like a team that could either make the Final Four or lose in the first 4 game.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what happens when you have Power 5 teams with good coaches that underperform.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with BYU being overseeded. I have Michigan State beating UCLA, and then I have them beating BYU. I'm a Big Ten guy, you know that. They're playing well now. I know they got bounced early by Maryland, and so then they barely made the tournament. But they made a few lineup changes, a few starting player changes, and I think Tom Izzo has them in the right direction. They weren't even supposed to make it, and then they got hot. So I think this is a game where they'd be like, okay, guys, we might have not been able to make this. Maybe we shouldn't have made it. So let's use this opportunity and take advantage of it. And I think they beat UCLA, and then I think they beat BYU as well.
Next team, we've got Texas. Texas coming off their first ever Big 12 conference championship win. They're hot.
Yeah.
One of the best backcourts in the country.
Mm-hmm.
They're not getting upset.
No, and usually sometimes it's easy to pick against teams who win the tournament. A lot of times you see them cool down, but I don't see this happening with Texas. I think they're in the right path, and they have a very good chance at making a deep run.
They've got a lot of senior leadership: Matt Coleman, Andrew Jones, Courtney Ramey. I don't think they're getting bounced early.
Yep.
7-10 in this one. Honestly, don't know a thing about UConn or Maryland.
I did.
This is one of my guess games.
Yeah, I know Maryland just because they're in the Big Ten. They don't come out and shock me. They don't. They're not really eye catching. But UConn has a very good guard, sophomore guard. Probably going to get drafted in a lottery. In the lottery, his name is like James Bouknight or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but I also like their coach, Danny Hurley. He's a fiery coach. I stated that in the last episode, and I think UConn actually has a really good chance at making a run. But Alabama's really good. I will say that. So that would be an intriguing 2-7 matchup. But yeah, I see UConn taking down Maryland pretty easily. Actually, I think this is one of those 7-10 games that really isn't going to be that great of a game.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you, and we might as well just talk about Alabama UConn then, because we both have UConn winning.
Yeah.
That's got the potential to be a good game. Alabama's another one of those super just hot teams.
They are streaky.
They're so long, they're so athletic. Those are the teams that can either make the Final Four or get upset really early.
Yep, though they rely on the 3-ball heavily. They got shooters all over the gym. So every guy they bring in can shoot the basketball. So those teams they're wild cards. Usually usually they make Final Four, even championship game, or get bounced in the second round. But it's going to be a good game. I have Alabama winning. I just think it's one of those games where if they even shoot below average, they're going to be fine because they play so fast and they'll get up so many threes. So I have them winning that one. But that's a game that could be a good one.
So who do you have in your Elite Eight for this region?
So Elite Eight. So I had
Sweet 16.
Sweet 16. I have Michigan beating LSU. That's going to be a good game. There's going to be a lot of good games in this region. I really do think this is one of the most intriguing regions, if you ask me. And then since I had UNC Greensboro and Georgetown both upsetting their teams in the first round, I had Georgetown taking down UNC Greensboro to make the Sweet 16. I think Texas takes down Michigan State in another good game. I think this is a game where a Tom Izzo versus Shaka Smart matchup. Two very good coaches, two coaches that are going to have their teams fired up. But I have Texas in that one, and then I have Alabama beating UConn as well. But all four of these games, if this were the round of 32 matchups, all four of them could potentially be really good games. Really good games that I'm looking forward to watching. But yeah, Michigan, Georgetown, Texas, and Alabama in my Sweet 16 in the East region.
So I've got LSU knocking off Michigan. We already talked about that. And then I've got Colorado advancing past UNC Greensboro, which I think would have the potential to be a good game also. I've got Texas steamrolling over BYU if BYU gets there. But if it is Michigan State, I think it's got the potential to be a little bit better of a game. And I've got Alabama and just a barn burn over UConn. I think that game will be really good. And from there, LSU Colorado, I had no idea how to pick. So I went with the more consistent team in the Sweet 16. Those tend to be the teams that make it a little farther. And then I've got Texas beating Alabama. Like we talked about with Alabama, super streaky. And I'm going to go with a team like Texas that's more grounded with a lot of senior leadership, a lot of guys that actually haven't been there. I don't think they've been in the tournament in like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
But guys that have played a lot of games and have proven it on the big stage. And then I've got Texas going out of that region in the Final Four for the first time since it would have been like 2003 or 2004.
Yeah, it's been a while.
They
haven't made a long run since KD. They usually see them get bounced early. But yeah, I have that Texas-Alabama matchups could be a really good one. Really good one.
Of all the games that I've got picked in my Sweet 16, I think that's my number 1 or number 2.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what I'll tell you what my other one is when we get to the
that could be a really good game. I also have Texas beating Bama, and then I have Michigan. Georgetown around will end there. Michigan's too much for them. And then that Michigan-Texas game could also be good if that were to happen. I know you had, would you have Colorado in there facing Texas? Yeah. So I know you have that, but then I think
rematch of the Alamo Bowl this year.
And then I have Michigan beating Texas to make it to the Final Four.
So we're gonna head over to the South region. Baylor's the top seed. Baylor was one of the best teams in the country all year long, but they kind of faded away towards the end there. They got upset by Oklahoma State in the Big 12 tournament semifinal. They're the team that I feel less confident about. I've got them in the Final Four. We'll talk about their path to get there, but I can't say that I feel that great about it.
Yeah, I know. I don't have any one seeds getting bounced. I think usually you never see them make it all to the Elite Eight. I actually do have them doing that. I don't know why. It's just something that I just, when I was filling it out, that's just what happened. But I think Wisconsin and North Carolina pose are those two teams. Either of them could beat Baylor. So I think Baylor's has the easiest chance to get beat in the round of 32. But yeah, Baylor's got an easy first game as always, and then I have North Carolina beating Wisconsin. That could be a really good.
Too.
That could be a really good 8-9 matchup as well. Wisconsin, they started off good, lost a few. They lose a lot of close games. North Carolina's got a lot of young guys, but they're really big. They're big guys. So that's just tough to handle when they're bringing in big guy after big guy.
North Carolina reminds me a lot of the 2014 Kentucky team with Julius Randle that wasn't projected to be in the tournament, but they got hot, won the SEC tournament.
Yep.
Were an 8 seed and then upset, I want to say Villanova, and made it all the way to the national championship to lose to UConn.
Yep, I do remember that.
You got, one of the best coaches in college basketball. Those are the type of teams that pull off the upsets and make deep runs. So if I were Baylor and Scott Drew, I'd be really worried about facing Roy Williams in the round of 32.
Yep, I agree.
I think this is my lock for the week. Winthrop over Villanova.
Yeah, I like that. I had the same thing. I feel really good about that one. But I don't know. It's tough to no 12 seed's a lock, but this is the one I feel really good about, and I think this is the one that a lot of people are picking. It's a trendy pick. Villanova's got 2 guys out. They got bounced early in the Big East tournament. I mean, they're just playing. They're one of the coldest teams that made this. So
yeah,
I don't know. And Winthrop's one of the hottest. So
Colin Gillespie, the All-American point guard for Villanova, tore his ACL, so he's out.
This is one of those. This is the game. Do you remember? I think it was either. Gosh, it might have been 2 or 4 years ago when Middle Tennessee State was a 12 seed, and Minnesota was a 5 seed.
Yeah.
And the team that was projected to win was Middle Tennessee State as a 12 seed, and they ended up winning. But it was one of those teams where Middle Tennessee was just way hot, mid-major team, and Minnesota was starting to play really bad, got bounced early Big Ten tournament, and you saw, this is one of the same stuff. So
when we started this radio show 6 or 7 weeks ago, Villanova was a 1 seed.
Yeah.
And they've fallen all the way down to 5, borderline 6.
Yep.
And Winthrop, it's been noted, they're going to be everyone's Cinderella favorites this year. Everyone's going to want to cheer for them. They're the Eagles. They play really fast and they put up a lot of points. I would be shocked if they don't beat Villanova. There's always that 1 12-5 game where you'd just be shocked if one team doesn't win. Purdue against North Texas, this isn't a game that I'm too worried about.
No.
Matt Painter, veteran guy, seems to always be a 4 seed every single year.
And sometimes you even see people want to pick against them, but you never see them get upset.
They did get upset by Iona.
Yeah, they did that
in 2016 because I remember I was waiting. Iowa State was going to have to play Purdue, but Iona upset them, and Iowa State got a pretty easy path to the Sweet 16 that year. Moving forward, another upset pick I've got, Texas Tech against Utah State. Texas Tech has just been, they're one of the teams like Villanova that's just been struggling. They are, of the 7 good teams in the Big 12, I'd put them 6th or 7th, just on a different tier from other teams. I like Mac McClung and Terrence Shannon Jr., but they just don't have the star power like they did when they made the national championship in 2019 with Jarrett Culver, and they played against Virginia and Kyle Guy.
Yeah.
Utah State's got one of the best coaches in the country, a guy that I wanted Iowa State to go after, but I just have a really good feeling that this is going to be one of the 6-11 upsets. It's a really good game, too.
Yeah.
And I've got Utah State actually advancing past Arkansas. Colgate has the highest upset percentage of any of the 3-14 matchups.
So I got, Caleb picked Colgate. Caleb actually also picked Iona to beat beat Alabama. He's picking all these upsets. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But yeah, I picked Utah State over Texas Tech, and then I think Arkansas gets past Colgate. Colgate has only played 15 games. They're 14-1. When you only play 15 games, it's a little bit harder. But they're a team that can shoot extremely well. That always plays well into the tournament. They're a confident team. It's always good to have confidence. But I have Arkansas beating Utah State. I like Utah State, but there's just something about Arkansas. I don't know why. I can see them. I actually have them making the Final Four.
Really?
Yeah, they're just, I don't know. They're one of those teams I've watched a couple of times. They got a good freshman, got a other couple good seniors. You don't notice them like they're a team.
Hot.
Yeah, they're just a team that's like they're just there. They kind of vanish in the dark. You don't really see them. Maybe you see them get upset like you did, Utah State beating them. But I have them going to the Final Four, baby. I think that's what going to do. I don't even know who their coach is, but they're right there. I think they're going to the Final Four.
Yeah, Arkansas, they've got some dudes, which is weird just because you never really hear from Arkansas, but
Yep.
they've got a guy by the name of Connor Vanover, a 7-3 transfer from Cal.
Yep.
And that dude is awesome. Justin Smith, Indiana guy, he was in the Big Ten. I could see them making a run, but I don't know what it is, but I just really like Utah State. The reason I like Utah State is because they've got his name's Neemias Queta, 2-time Mountain West Conference Defensive Player of the Year. And then they've got a guy named Brock Miller who hit over 50% of his three-point shots this season. And that's a recipe for success when you're a mid-major team.
Exactly.
Really good shooter and a really good defender.
Yep.
That's all you need to pull an upset.
That's right.
7-10 in this one, I think, is the best 7-10 matchup we've got in the tournament, Florida and Virginia Tech.
Also, the very first game of March Madness, 11:15 Friday, first game. I've been talking trash to Luke because me and Caleb picked Florida, and Luke picked Virginia Tech.
I picked Virginia Tech.
Really? So we've been like, Luke, we can't wait to call you. We're gonna call you right when they lose and be like, your bracket's busted. Here's the thing about Virginia Tech, though. When this game comes on Friday, they will have only been played 3 games in the last month and a half. Virginia Tech.
Wow.
So they
that's
had
crazy.
They had a COVID thing, then they played 2 games, then they got COVID again, and then got bounced in the first round or their first game in the ACC tournament, and then so that's why I'm like, all right, I just don't. They were decent at the beginning of the year. They were like ranked 15th. I think that's the highest they got. And now you see them at a 10 seed. Like, you can tell COVID's hit them hard, and I think it's a team that doesn't have much confidence right now. And Florida is playing well. They did all right in the SEC tournament. I don't remember who they got eliminated by, but they have a guard called Trey Mann, very good player.
Yep, I like Trey Mann.
Yeah, he's a good player. So I think they beat Virginia Tech, and then I have Ohio State beating your Oral Roberts.
Oh, dang! Oral Roberts. It's too bad they're a 15 seed. They finished 4th in the Summit League. Ended up winning the tournament, upsetting South Dakota State and North Dakota State. But if there's a 15 seed that's winning this year, it's Oral Roberts.
Yeah, I would.
I don't think
No.
this is a year
I think
where a
this
1 or a 2 seed loses.
No,
or
I
maybe even a 3. I didn't pick a single 3-14 upset.
I thought you picked. Oh, never mind.
I had at one point West Virginia getting upset to Morehead State.
You changed it.
But I've still got a little over 36 hours to make final picks, so I might change it back.
Yeah.
But if there's a team that's going to lose, I think it's Ohio State. If there's a 1 or a 2 seed that's going to lose in the first round,
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty safe, I guess not a safe bet, but safe bet compared to the other 1 and 2 seeds.
Yeah.
But I've actually got Ohio State making it all the way to the Elite Eight. I've got them beating Arkansas. No, I've got them beating Utah State in the Sweet 16 in what should be a fun game, but ultimately getting knocked off by Baylor. I've got Winthrop over Purdue in the second round. I mean, I'm just gonna be pulling for Winthrop, but
Yeah.
I always choose like 3 or 4 teams. One year mine was actually Loyola Chicago. I had them in the Sweet 16, not the Final Four. But that was just like a team. I loved Clayton Custer, former Iowa State guy, so I pulled from him for the start. But Winthrop is one of my teams this year that I'm just going to be a huge Winthrop fan, and I think that they can knock off Purdue.
Yep. So I think, I'm going to – Baylor, he's going to have a tough matchup with North Carolina. That could be an upset.
That's going to be one of the best round of 32 games.
I know both Luke and Caleb picked North Carolina. They're big North Carolina fans. I don't really know why. And Ben and Baylor not be playing particularly well as of late. But I think Baylor comes out on this one. I do have Purdue beating Winthrop. I think Winthrop run ends there. I think Purdue is one of those teams where they, like, every time they're decent, they just go to the Sweet 16 and get beat. Like, they just meet their expectations and then they're out. So I have them going to the Sweet 16, beating Winthrop. I have Arkansas beating Utah State. Like I said, I had Arkansas even making the Final Four. And then I have Ohio State beating Florida. But that could also be a trendy upset pick too. Florida's a decent team. Like I said, they got Trey Mann. We both like him. And then Baylor beating Purdue, Arkansas beating Ohio State, and then Arkansas and Baylor beating Baylor.
So there's always a 2 seed that loses in the second round every single year. So I think this year it's either going to be Iowa or Ohio State, and it's just matchup pending.
Yep.
Like if Ohio State plays Virginia Tech, I think they'll roll them. But if they play Florida, they might be in trouble.
Exactly.
Just like on the other side of the bracket. If Iowa plays Oregon, they could be in trouble, but if they play VCU, I don't think there's any chance they get upset. So it's really just matchup dependent on who wins the first round.
I wanted to pick a 7 seed or a 10 seed to get that 2 seed, but it's so harder. I find it so much easier to pick a 12 or a 13 seed over a 4 or 5 seed than to pick like a 7 over a 2 or an 8 over a 1. It's hard to do. I don't like doing it, and I've done it. I did it one year when Wisconsin beat Villanova when they were an 8 seed. I did it that one year when they beat Villanova, was a 1 seed. I did it that year. But yeah, I didn't do it either of these years. Usually I do, but I don't know. It's probably going to come back and bite me in my butt.
Yeah, so with all the upsets that we both picked, I had Baylor, Ohio State in the Elite Eight, and Baylor going to the Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
In the final region, which I think is probably the most underwhelming of all of them, but has what I'm claiming to be my favorite team for March Madness, which is the San Diego State Aztecs.
Yep, I like them too. They're really good.
I've got them going to the Elite Eight, but we'll start at the top of the region.
I will say about the Midwest region, the thing that sucks is, to me, the 2 best teams in this region are Oklahoma State and Illinois, and they're potentially could meet in the Sweet 16. Like if Oklahoma State was just a 3 seed, I have them going to Elite Eight like nothing. It'd be the easiest pick in the world.
Yep, Oklahoma State got completely underseeded.
Yep, they got hosed.
West Virginia should not have been a 3 seed.
Yep.
They should have been a 4. They should have just flipped.
Yeah, all they had to do was just flip those 2, and then this bracket becomes a lot tougher. But now I see it's a little bit easier because of that.
But yeah, I've got Illinois, no problem over Drexel. Loyola Chicago, Georgia Tech might be the game of the first round.
You think so?
Georgia Tech got hot, they got lucky because they were able to take advantage of Virginia having to forfeit. But Georgia Tech's one of the best defensive teams in college basketball, and as we know, Loyola Chicago is the best defensive team in college basketball. They average like 50 points a game. So Porter Moser plays a lot like Tony Bennett in Virginia. This game's going to be like low-scoring, high 50s, low 60s game, but it's going to be close no matter what because neither team blows teams out of the water, and it's every 8-9 matchup's always close.
Yeah,
and as much as I'd love to go with Loyola Chicago as a Cinderella again, they're not getting past Illinois.
No, yep, I agree.
Absolutely
I have them
no
beating
chance.
Georgia Tech, but yeah, not getting past Illinois. Illinois is either they're probably not the hottest, but they're definitely the second hottest team in the NCAA right now.
I'd argue that they're the hottest because Gonzaga didn't play that well in the West Coast Conference tournament.
I know, but I don't get how you can't be the hottest team when you haven't lost.
That's fair.
I usually don't even include teams like that. So if I'm not including Gonzaga, then yes, Illinois is the hottest team in the country.
So the 4-5 in this one, I went chalk. I've got Tennessee over Oregon State, Oklahoma State over Liberty.
I agree.
But Liberty is one of the hotter teams in the country, and that's why I feel so bad for Oklahoma State is because they just got. Not only did they get underseeded, but they probably got the best 13 seed in the tournament.
What I was telling my I can't remember who I was telling this to, but I was like, Oklahoma State is, I think, the best 4 seed in this tournament, and I think Liberty's the best 13 seed in the tournament. And it's a shame that they have to play each other. I would have picked Liberty over any other 4 seed. Virginia, gosh, who are the other ones? Purdue. I would have picked them over Purdue. I would have picked them over. There's one more.
Florida State.
I would have picked them over all of them.
I think so too, but I'm not picking them up
Nope.
over Cade Cunningham.
Yep, I went chalk in this one as well.
This is one of those. I mean, I'm going to be praying against an upset. Usually I cheer for upsets, but I do not want to see Cade Cunningham get knocked on the first day. I want to see him go against Kofi Cockburn and Ayo Dosunmu in the Sweet 16.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think, if they get past Liberty, I don't think they'll have a problem with Tennessee.
No.
Even though Rick Barnes is a guy who's been doing it for a long time, one of the best coaches in college basketball history. So that could pose a threat to Cunningham, but just out of a fan's sake, I'm going to pick Oklahoma State to go to the Sweet 16. But
yeah, I agree.
to say I'm thrilled about their draw would be a lie.
Yeah.
Because they kind of got botched a little bit.
Yep.
On the last half of the bracket, San Diego State, Syracuse. Syracuse is just another team that I feel like they're always a 10 or 11 seed.
Yeah, they struggled all year. Then all see they get I think they got a 9 or an 8 seed in the tournament, ACC tournament, and then
won a couple games.
Yep, won a couple games, snuck right in there.
They did that 5 years ago and made the Final Four.
Yep.
I don't want that to happen because they're playing against my San Diego State Aztecs. The Aztecs won the Mountain West Conference Championship. They've got Mountain West Coach of the Year, Brian Dutcher. And do you know who Brian Dutcher is? He played a very significant role in college basketball history. He recruited the Fab Five for Michigan back in the 90s.
Oh, really?
So he's now the head coach of San Diego State. They've got the Mountain West Player of the Year, Matt Mitchell. This team is just so much fun. They've got so many guys, but they're playing against Syracuse and Jim Boeheim's son, Buddy Boeheim. And this is going to be one of those fun games, but another one like Oklahoma State where I'm cheering so far against the upset.
Yep,
I'm going for the favorite, and I want San Diego State to make a deep run.
Yep, I agree. I got San Diego State. And then for my upset of the whole first round, I had 14 seed Morehead State over West Virginia. I cannot wait for this game. I love picking 14 seeds over 3 seeds. You never see it happen, but it's no fun not to do it. I know Caleb picked Colgate over Arkansas, 14 seed. I didn't want to roll with that one because I like Arkansas, but West Virginia to me is the worst 3 seed. I don't know much about Morehead State, but they're a team I always see in the tournament. They always make it. They always win their conference, and so I'm going with them, and I think they beat West Virginia.
Can you name a famous alum from Morehead State?
Isn't it Kenneth Faried?
Yep, Kenneth Faried, the Manimal, former Denver Nugget. Yeah, I've got West Virginia, but I have gone back and forth on this one. If there is a 3-14, it's going to be this game. Either this game or probably Colgate, Arkansas.
Yeah.
But maybe I'll change my pick before 11 a.m. on Friday. Going down in the bracket, I couldn't tell you a single thing about these two games. Clemson, Rutgers, and Houston, Cleveland State. I've watched maybe one Houston game all year. I haven't watched Clemson, and I watched Rutgers play against Iowa back in January when they were like a top 10 team.
Yeah, this is...
I just guessed
14,
for this one.
Yeah.
I just went chalk. I went Clemson over Rutgers, Houston over Clemson, and then just bit the bullet on it.
Yeah. I went Rutgers just because I've seen them play. They're in the Big Ten. I don't know anything about Clemson. Don't know much about Houston except that they got a transfer from Kansas, Quentin Grimes, who's their best player. He's actually pretty good. So I can see Houston making a run, but ultimately...
Quentin Grimes was awesome at Kansas.
Yeah, he was good. I was surprised to see him leave, honestly. But yeah, I took Houston over Cleveland State. Maybe you could see that 15 over 2. I think this could be another favorite to do that. But then and then I have Houston beating Rutgers to go to the Sweet 16.
If Oral Roberts was playing Houston, I might be going with Oral Roberts.
Yeah, then it would be a much closer thing.
But yeah, so round of 32, I think this is the closest I've got to a chalk region. I've got Illinois over Loyola, Oklahoma State over Tennessee for the 1-4 matchup in the Sweet 16.
Mm-hmm.
I believe this is the only 1-4 matchup that I've got. Yep, this is the only time I'll have a 1 seed playing a 4 seed. And then on the other side, I've got San Diego State pulling a semi-upset over West Virginia. I wouldn't really consider that an upset. I think that's a pretty evenly matched game. And then I've got Houston over Clemson. I've got Illinois beating Oklahoma State in what is my most anticipated game of March Madness. It's my most anticipated to the point where I'm going to be disappointed if it doesn't happen. Like, I'm so excited for this game because this will be the game of the tournament if we get to see it.
Yeah.
It
would be a good game.
The best player in college basketball against the hottest team in college basketball.
Yeah. It's going to be a great one. I have Illinois over Loyola Chicago, like you did. I have Oklahoma State over Tennessee like you did. And then since I had Morehead State beating West Virginia, I have San Diego State beating Morehead State, ending their run there. I like San Diego State. I think they're a good team. I have Houston beating Rutgers just because no one on Rutgers really blows me away.
Has upset potential.
Yeah, they just don't. That's just something that they don't have. This is they haven't really made. They've just started now to make the tournament. They're changing their program around, but I get them. I'll give them a first round win, and then I have them getting bounced. And then, like you said, Illinois, Oklahoma State, going to be a great game. If we do get to see it, everyone's going to want to see it if they love basketball like you and me. But I have Illinois winning that game in a very close game.
We better not have tennis during that game.
Yeah, it's going to be what? That'll be a
Thursday or Friday night game.
No, it'll be because they changed. Oh no, I think that
I think when they get to Sweet 16, they're going back to Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
I think you're right. So yeah, it's either going to be because we have a meet all day Saturday that day. So, but the Saturday will be Elite Eight, so we won't have to worry about that. So Thursday night or Friday night, we'll be able to see that. And then I have San Diego State upsetting Houston.
So we've got
the Elite Eight.
Other than Morehead State beating West Virginia, we've got the same region for this one.
Yep. Oh, and Rutgers Clemson.
Wait, do you have San Diego State beating Illinois or Illinois?
Illinois.
Yeah, I've got Illinois too. So, read me again your Final Four.
So my Final Four is Gonzaga making it out of the West, Michigan making it out of the East, Arkansas making it out of the South, and Illinois making it out of the Midwest, which gives me 3 number 1 seeds, which rarely ever happens. You usually only see 1, maybe even 2. So me having 3 in there is just blows my mind, but Michigan, I've gone back and forth on. I think they'd be the other one to get upset. I don't see how Gonzaga and Illinois don't make it. I think they're just far and away. They're just better teams. They're teams that will play good the whole tournament, I think. I don't think you see a fluke out of them. Even if they get their opponent's best game, I still think that they win. And then I have Gonzaga beating Michigan, Illinois beating Arkansas, and then Gonzaga beating Illinois to be national champions at last. After they've had all these years where they could do it, they finally get their best team this year, and they get it done, finishing it as an undefeated team, one of the very few in history to do it.
Yeah, so I've got Gonzaga over Texas in the Final Four, and then Illinois over Baylor in what I think could be one of the best games, just with the guard playing that. Ayo Dosunmu against Jared Butler would be awesome.
Yep.
That'd be really fun to watch. And then I've got Gonzaga knocking off Illinois in the national championship, which would also be a very, very, very fun game with, I would argue, the 2 best rosters in college basketball, 2 of the best coaches in college basketball. But Gonzaga finally gets it done. But, man, I'm not confident in my bracket this year.
No, my bracket, this is the least confident I've ever been. And I feel confident in all my first-round games, but then once you get to the second round and Sweet 16, then it's like, I want to go with this team because this team can get hot at any time, or this team, and it's just, I don't know, because you saw so many teams lose. Like, Illinois has like 6 losses, so you never know, but they're just playing well right now. So I feel like Gonzaga's you just want to get the easy way out, and Gonzaga, they're your easiest pick. So I'm just gonna roll with them.
Yeah, this is the first year that I've ever had this many 1 seeds because I've also got 3 1 seeds, and then I've got the 3 seed Texas.
Yeah.
But man, I do not like going with a 1 seed in that many regions. But I just don't see any world where Iowa beats Gonzaga. I don't see any world where Ohio State beats Baylor. I don't see any world where Houston even makes it to the Elite Eight. And then Alabama's the only other bet, but I think Alabama, Texas, whoever wins that game's going to the Final Four. So it's just...
Yeah, it's something where I really wanted to pick Bama or Texas to make it, to get over Michigan. It was something, if I would have picked Bama over Texas, I think I would have picked Bama over Michigan, but then that would have put me at 2 SEC teams in the Final Four.
And that's not happening.
And then I just don't think that's just they're just not a basketball conference. I don't think you never see that out of the SEC. And so it's just, I don't know. It's struggling. It's stressful.
It's a lot, but
I'm looking forward to it, but most likely by next weekend, my Final Four will be wrecked. One of these teams is going to get beat, and I'm going to be mad. But I don't know.
we'll come back, and I will most certainly be in like second to last or last place. I've never won a bracket challenge in my entire life, and I think it's just because I follow college basketball so closely that I overthink picks, and usually the people that win are the ones that just come out there and pick off the best colors or the best logo or the best mascot, and they're the ones who win, and it's just not fair, and it's not how it should be, but that's why we love March Madness. It's for everyone. Everyone can watch. I can't wait for the first buzzer beater. I can't wait for the first time to hear Greg Gumbel's voice. I can't wait for the music. It's literally the best time of the year.
It is.
This usually the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday is the best 4 days of the year, but this year it's Monday through Friday through Monday or whatever. Yep. But I cannot wait to hear the da 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 da. It's just, it gives me chills down my spine every time I hear it. So got the sports nerd out in me. I cannot wait.
Friday, me and Caleb are gonna have 4 TVs running it up, all of them out there.
I'll be in there.
Yep, we'll be having it all out.
And don't worry, Luke B, we're in a family unit. But that's gonna do it for this week on A Dorm Divided, our complete and in-depth preview of March Madness. We cannot wait. It's going to be awesome. For Jake Bren on 88.9 KSTM, The Storm, and Aaron Price, we want to thank you for listening and enjoy your weekend watching a lot of college hoops.